Biden's first moves in the oil and gas industry is to destroy the oil and gas industry. If you're an oil man like me, we got to jump ship, guys. The ship is sinking. And I'm not going to be the last sucker to jump this thing. We are getting off. We're jumping on the green train. I'm going to start an electric car company. I'm going to start building electric cars. Me and Elon Musk are going to go to dinner. And we're going to, look, guys, listen. I've never been more enthusiastic of the oil and gas industry than I am now. Okay, and I'll tell you why. Let's look at this news article. Biden continues anti-oil promises on day one. President Joe Biden will issue a temporary moratorium on oil and gas leasing in the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge. Okay. And so they said that on Wednesday. President Biden's sparring with President Trump over the oil industry has so far included the Keystone XL pipeline project. We'll talk about that. The ANWR drilling rights, the Paris Climate Agreement, and banning oil and gas drilling on all federal land. Okay. Now, if I was a sheik in the Middle East, I would do exactly what Biden is doing. Now, here's why. Okay, so we all know what happened between Russia and Saudi Arabia. They flooded the markets with oil to take out U.S. shale. Okay, and they are reducing the amount of oil and increasing the amount of oil on the open markets in order to keep the shale industry from being in profit territory. Okay, as long as the shale industry is not profitable, the Middle East can keep oil prices high. Okay, as you can see here, based on this chart, we were producing 6 million barrels a day in 2008, and they discovered the ability to extract oil out of tight shale plays, and fracking was born. And we went from 6 million a day and we skyrocketed all the way to 13 million barrels a day. Now, this caused oil prices to drop very quickly. Okay. And the Middle East and Russia came together to come against the shale fracking industry. Okay. And so Biden single-handedly is destroying the fracking industry by banning the lease acquisitions of federal lands. So it's basically, hey, this is my backyard. Get out, oil and gas industry. We're done with you. Okay. And so Putin, Saudi Arabia, and all the other rich oil countries are toasting to one another, and they're saying, we did it. We won the battle against shale. So we are on the path to from 11 million barrels a day. That's what we're currently producing in America. We're on the path to go back to the way it was back in 2008. Under the Bush administration, oil prices hit $150 oil. Under Obama administration, $135 oil. Why? Because we were not producing that much shale. Okay, so it's really simple. Reduce the amount of U.S. production, and oil prices are going to go well over $100. Okay, so reducing the amount of land that we can produce shale on, because we're already running out of land to produce. I mean, most of the premium leases are gone, especially for shale, because they've spent trillions in extracting oil, far greater than what conventional ever has spent. Okay, so look at this. Now we got the Paris Accord. The Paris Accord is a bunch of BS from a bunch of countries saying and writing down on a piece of paper saying, hey, this is what we're going to do as a country to reduce our fossil fuel reliance, to reduce carbon emissions, and this is how much we're going to give. Well, all the countries just, they might as well got a napkin and wrote something down and threw it over, and then they don't send any money. We're sending $3 billion, and everyone else is sending, I think Japan is sending about a $1.5 billion. They're the second biggest contributor. We're sending 3 times as much as they are. But bottom line, they said scientists figured out that by the end of the century, they could reduce the temperature of the planet by 0.3 degrees, and it would cost us $100 trillion. Unbelievable. It's not even going to work. Okay. But here's the deal. Here's what it's going to do for the fossil fuel industry. It's going to greatly reduce fossil fuel reliance because everybody is trying to cater to the agreement. They are trying to reduce the reliance of fossil fuels across the globe. And if you adhere to the agreement, you will reduce carbon emissions, thus developing less oil and gas. Okay, so thank you, Biden, for that. All right. Number 3, the Keystone Pipeline. All right. The Keystone Pipeline is a pipeline that runs from Canada. Let's move myself over here. That goes from Canada all the way to Houston. Okay. Now, the reason why we need the XL pipeline, the XL pipeline would increase output by 800,000 barrels of oil a day. Okay. Now, why do we need Canadian oil, Sean? We're producing 11 million barrels a day. Well, it's really simple, guys. Our oil is a light crude and our refineries are set up for a heavy crude. Now, why would we have heavy crude refineries if we have light crude? Well, before we started producing mass quantities of oil, we were already importing most of our oil from the Middle East. Middle East oil is heavy crude, and so we had to be able to refine it. We built our refining infrastructure around Middle East oil. And so we had the idea that, well, instead of making Middle East richer, because they're using most of their money to fund terrorism, let's use the Canadian tar sands. Okay, it's cheaper, and we'll build a pipeline running all the way from Canada all the way to Houston refineries. Well, that deal just got crushed. Okay, and I believe we're short about 800,000 barrels of oil of heavy crude a day, and the new XL pipeline was going to handle about 830,000 a day. And so that was the whole point behind it. But thank you, Biden. You just destroyed 50,000 American jobs and made the Middle East even richer because now we're more reliant upon their oil versus Canadian oil. I mean, if I was a sheik in the Middle East, if I was the Saudi prince, I would be rejoicing right now. I'd be praising whatever gods they praise out there. Okay. It's almost as if Biden's like, oh, what'd you say, Saudi prince? You want me to shut down the Keystone Pipeline? Okay, done. Oh, you want me to shut down federal land lease acquisition? Done. Okay. Oh, you want me to reconnect to the Paris Accord and give billions of dollars to a green energy fund? Done. Oh, yes, Mr. Warren Buffett. Oh, thank you, Mr. Warren Buffett, for the millions and millions of dollars you gave us for our campaign. I'm going to go ahead and help you out by shutting down the Keystone Pipeline. So instead of using a pipeline, we're going to go ahead and use your rail lines instead. You're welcome. Okay. Remember me in 4 years. Thank you. Click. Guys, look, this is not about politics. It's about what is happening right now, what is happening to the oil and gas industry. And I've never been more optimistic about oil prices. I'm seeing it everywhere. Everyone's saying oil price under a Biden administration is going to skyrocket. There's going to be a bull run in oil prices because of the Paris Accord agreement, because the XL pipeline getting shut down, because the federal lands are shutting down, and there's going to be a great reduction in production of oil. Now, Sean, so people are asking me, why would I get involved in oil if everything's shutting down? Well, here's the deal. For instance, we're in Oklahoma. Okay, we're drilling on conventional leases, not shale leases. I'm not interested in shale. Shale, in order to get oil out of a shale lease, is a tight formation. You got to frack the hell out of it with millions and millions of dollars of fracking technology. Where conventional oil, it's not in a tight formation. It has more permeability, more porosity, and so the oil freely flows much easier than a tight shale formation. Okay. And so, and a lot of these lands are Indian lands and what have you. And so we already have the leases, and so we don't have to worry about it. Okay. I'm talking about new shale developments going to be greatly reduced. Okay. And so because we are doing conventional wells, oil prices are very high for us because you could drill a well for $600,000 for conventional versus 10, 15, $20 million for a shale project. So I'm good with the current oil prices at 50. Right now, WTI is at $52 a barrel. That's huge. Okay. First time we hit 40 was in 2004. Okay. And we were bumping, chest bumping in the office. Okay. And so bottom line, the oil prices right now are very low compared to where they're going to be after Biden puts all of these new plans into full effect. And he's going to continue to do whatever he can to destroy the oil and gas industry. The technology for green tech, it is not available to reduce the amount of fossil fuels. Yes, that tech is available, but to replace it, it ain't happening. Your car, your gas-powered car, you go to a gas station and you fill it up. In order to charge a Tesla, you plug it into your outlet at your house. That electricity comes from the grid. Most of the grid comes from electricity from the grid comes from fossil fuels. So now you're increasing the amount of electricity that you use. You're using more fossil fuels. And now you're increasing the demand on the grid. The grid is 150 years old. It needs to be replaced. Half the electricity is already being lost by the time it gets to your house from the power plant. Half of it's gone because it needs to be replaced. Trillions of dollars, 30 years later, yes, maybe we could replace the fossil fuel industry, but we have a long ways to come. We need major advancements in batteries. Not only do we not have enough wind power turbines and solar power plants to replace electricity just for the daytime, but in addition to powering the grid during the day, we would have to also charge batteries. Okay, so you got to produce twice as much electricity than the grid needs, actually more like 3 times than the grid needs, so we can have enough power at night, which is when everybody uses their power at night. So most of the power will be coming from batteries at nighttime. While you charge your Tesla and your iPhone and watch your big screen television and make your cup of coffee, batteries are going to be utilized. Well, batteries come from what? It's mined from the ground. It's a non-renewable resource. Guys, we're going from one non-renewable resource to another, okay? But the thing is that it comes down to this, guys. It took us 150 years to build the grid. We've been using fossil fuels for years. It works. And people say, oh, we're going backwards. You can't keep using an older technology. We got to go forwards with green. Look, they were using windmills before fossil fuels. This is an older technology. We're actually going backwards, but they found out fossil fuels, it's more combustible, it's more powerful, and it's the cheapest energy source in the world. Right now, fossil fuels is cheaper than any other source. These other countries, they are growing substantially, and they're not going to use green. They don't have the money for it, but they have the money for oil. But anyways, I've never been more optimistic about the oil and gas industry. Get ready for $100 oil. We are on our route. Biden is just fulfilling campaign promises. Thank you for electing me. Thank you for believing the lie that global warming is going to destroy the world. Fossil fuel is at fault. Warren Buffett is making more money. The Middle East is going to make more money. Russia is going to make more money. And America is going to pay more money for electricity and lose countless jobs. All right, guys. I'm Sean Pruitt, president of Kingdom Exploration. If you like this channel, please subscribe, and we will talk soon. Thanks.